Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has formally launched her campaign for US President at a large rally in South Carolina. She's the first candidate to officially take on Donald Trump for this Republican nomination. Here's a little of what she had to say at the rally overnight.
And today our enemies think that the American era has passed. They're wrong. America is not past our prime. It's just that our politicians are past theirs.
For more on this, let's bring in the host of the US Report and Outsiders on Sky News, James Morrow. James, how does this play out for Nikki Haley? At some point, they've got to have the fight with Donald Trump if they want to run for president, don't they, the Republicans?
Well, you know, it's already started to happen. Donald Trump has put out a release about Nikki Haley with a bunch of attacks on her, quoting things that she said in the past, trying to unpick contradictions. And most of all, of course, because it's coming from Donald Trump, calling her out for attacking Donald Trump. The interesting thing about this, I think, Kieran, is that once you've been attacked by Donald Trump, it kind of makes you official. So even though Ron DeSantis hasn't officially thrown his hat in the ring, we all know he's going to run. And now this really kind of gives her a bit of that sort of oomph that, she's an official candidate because, of course, there's this whole war happening within the GOP. Do they go with Trump or do they go with a younger candidate who I think would give the Republicans a first mover advantage over the Democrats on this whole question of, when does the next generation and which party takes the next generation into the presidency?
So you see this battle as not so much a Trump v. anti-Trump fight as opposed to an intergenerational battle within the Republican Party.
Yeah, well, I mean, did you hear that little thing that Nikki Haley said in that little clip you played? She said that, it's not that America is past its prime. She said, it's that the leaders have. Now, that's a clear shot at Joe Biden. But frankly, you can also interpret that as a clear shot at Donald Trump, who is almost as old, although quite a bit more vigorous than Joe Biden. The Republicans are, they've got Ron DeSantis. Nikki Haley's 51 years old. They've got a very deep bench of talent who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who could be playing in this space for the presidency in a year and a half, 2 years' time. And that would be, I think, a profound thing because the Democrats, the longer they wait and go with Joe Biden, the more the general electorate sees them as the party that's stuck, in the past.
So that first mover advantage you talk about, and do you therefore think that the likes of Haley or Tim Scott or Ron DeSantis, that they are a much more compelling proposition versus Biden as opposed to Trump versus Biden?
Yeah, look, I mean, my feeling is that if Trump goes against Biden, if the GOP picks Trump, then Biden wins because Trump is such a divisive character that, he'll get a very strong core of Republicans, but that'll only get him to 45% of the electorate. It's that big center that you've got to go for. And, people are going to be like, it's a terrible choice there because, do they go for the chaos that Trump represents or, do they go for the, just basically falling apart, stumbling, sort of Joe Biden thing, which is, not an inspiring choice either. So if the Republicans could say to Donald Trump, look, be our kingmaker, have a huge influence here, but, we're going to find somebody who, is acceptable to everybody. That's how they're going to get that center of the country that's looking for normal. And the place that, Republicans do well at now, because Democrats have gone so far left on so many issues, schools, education, a lot of other issues, that normal space is up for grabs. That's why Glenn Youngkin won in Virginia as a Republican when he shouldn't have. That's why Ron DeSantis increased his lead in Florida at the last elections. It's that center normal space that they need to find.
So do you see a pathway here for, while we're talking about Nikki Haley, for her to navigate her way to the nomination?
Well, look, she's an impressive character, Kieran. She likes to say that she's never been defeated in an election, and she, was a very successful governor of South Carolina. She was a successful UN ambassador, so she's got a very strong career on the public stage. I do think that, already the kind of cynical jibe among Republicans is that she's thrown her hat in the ring for vice president. I think that's a little unfair, especially because, it's only her and Donald Trump who are running at this point, so it's a bit early to start picking out the ticket at this stage.
So a possibility, but you would say at this point is DeSantis the most likely nomination? We're a long way away. I'm not asking you to put the house on it, but is he the one that's gaining the most sort of momentum right now in Republican circles?
Yeah, look, I mean, I might put the tool shed, but not the house on Ron DeSantis, because he is kind of considered to be the number one, candidate. He is very appealing to an awful lot of Trump voters because he does that same sort of cultural fight. He fights the press. He fights the media. He says that Florida is where wokeness goes to die. His coronavirus response, is now held up as a model when, of course, the press and everybody demonized him during the COVID period. And so, people really, appreciate his pugilistic nature, but also, he's 20, 30 years younger. He's young. He's got a nice young family. He's very, all-American in that sense. He's a Air Force veteran. I think he's been to both Harvard and Yale. So, he's the whole package.
And we will get more on all of this on the US report tomorrow night with James Morrow. Make sure you check it out if you're into US politics. I will be. James, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.